Well, first I want to thank you for being here today. I know it's Sunday. I know many of you have been in church for hours, and then you came here to see me, so I appreciate it. I'll try not to be too preachy, and I'll try to conserve my voice. I've been struggling with my voice the last few days, but it feels strong today, and I'm grateful to that, and I thank our Heavenly Father. So this morning, we got the news that Nancy Reagan has passed. And Jeanette and I, in 2011, had the unique opportunity to meet with Nancy Reagan. I had been invited to speak at the Reagan Library, which was an incredible honor for me, because I grew up and I am a child of the Reagan Revolution. My grandfather used to sit on the porch of our home in Las Vegas, Nevada. During the early 80s, he lived with us, and he would sit there for hours, and I would sit there and I would listen to him tell me stories about him growing up. But instilled in his stories was his is a man who understood how unique and special America was, because he knew what life was like outside of America. My grandfather was one of 19 kids born in rural Cuba. I know, 19. They had their own labor program in that farm. And he had polio when he was 6 years old. And so he had lost the use of one of his legs. So he was the only child that couldn't work on the farm. And so he had to go to school. He was the only one of his siblings that knew how to read and write, because they knew he wouldn't be able to use his body to earn a living. And as a result, he learned and he read a lot. In fact, one of his first jobs was he would sit in the front of a cigar factory while the cigar rollers were rolling the cigars. He would sit in the front, and this is a comic job called a lector. He would read to them. First, he would read the newspapers, then he would read novels. And as a result, two things happened. Number one, he became very learned, very well read. And number two, he became a great storyteller. And he would tell me all kinds of stories about the history of mankind and obviously the movement of democracy, what communism did to Cuba. But my grandfather loved Ronald Reagan. Never met him, obviously, but he loved him. And the reason why he loved Reagan so much is because Reagan believed that America was a special country. And my grandfather understood that America was a special country, because he knew America was the only thing standing in the way of other countries becoming like his former homeland of Cuba. So Nancy Reagan's passing today reminds me of the end of that era, 36 years ago, when Ronald Reagan became president of the United States. The younger people here obviously don't remember that presidency, but it's amazing even now that I go to rallies all around the country and people are wearing, young Americans are wearing Reagan Bush hats. This is not just about nostalgia. Ronald Reagan was the conservative movement at its best. At its best, conservatism is not about anger. At its best, conservatism is not about fear. At its best, the conservative movement is not about division. At its best, the conservative movement is about the belief in fundamental principles of limited government and free enterprise and a strong national defense and traditional values. And it's about those values being transmitted in the most optimistic way possible. My friends, as Americans, we always have reason to be optimistic. Our Heavenly Father has blessed us with the most fertile land on earth, protected on both sides by vast oceans, blessed with the most innovative people in the history of mankind, and blessed with a republic that has protected our liberties for over 2 centuries. We are truly blessed to be Americans. I am blessed to be an American because my parents weren't born here. They came here through the grace of God in 1956. Had they gone to any other nation on earth, I'm not sure where I would be this evening, but I would not be standing on a podium in a hangar running for the highest office in the land. I would have probably been living in a society like most of those that have ever existed, where your future is largely determined by who your parents are, where you are basically limited by the circumstances of your birth. This country's in need of a conservative revival again. But a conservative revival that is not built on anger or frustration. We have a reason to be frustrated. Our nation is not headed in the right direction. You have a reason to be angry at your political leaders. They unfortunately have not served us well for the better part of 2 decades. But I want you to know we also have reason to be optimistic. For I believe if we do what needs to be done, the greatest era in American history is truly within our reach. But we have to do it now. We have to do it now. We have to do it now. 2016 is not just a choice between political parties. It is a referendum on our identity as a nation, as a people. The fundamental question before us is, what kind of country do we want America to be in this new century? If we stay on the road we are on right now, America will still be an important country, but I believe it will stop being a special one. For the road that we are on right now is one that is robbing us of many of the things that make us special. It is why I chose not to run for re-election to the Senate and to take a year of my life, many days away from my family, and run for the presidency. Because I believe that if we do not elect a new president who will help re-embrace the principles that made us special, we will lose the American dream and the things that made this the most exceptional nation in the history of mankind. I'm here today to ask you for your vote on Tuesday, and I want you to know what you will get when I'm president of the United States. For the first time in 8 years, you will have a president that actually follows and adheres to the Constitution of the United States of America. You will have a president that defends the First Amendment. For it is in the First Amendment that has protected our rights to live out the teachings of our faith in every single aspect of our lives. If you elect me president, for the first time in 8 years, you will have a president that defends the Second Amendment, because you have a right to protect your family. When you elect me president for the first time in 8 years, you will have a president that understands that most of the problems in America are not going to be solved in Washington, D.C. They're solved in our homes, in our churches, in our community. And if it has a government solution, it is likelier to be in the state government than it is in the federal government. When I take the oath of office, unlike the current occupant of the White House, I will actually mean it. And I will prove it as soon as I walk into the Oval Office. Because on my first day in office, I am going to repeal every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. When I'm president of the United States for the first time in 8 years, you're going to have someone that believes in the free enterprise system. And I believe in free enterprise not because my parents were wealthy. They were not. My parents were not. They were hotel employees. My father was a bartender at hotels and my mother was a maid. And they never made millions of dollars, but they were successful people because they owned a home and they raised their family and they left us with a better life and they retired with dignity. And these things were possible because free enterprise works. Because free enterprise allowed someone to open up a hotel, and that hotel hired them on Miami Beach and in Las Vegas. And with the money they earned at this hotel, they raised their families and provided for them a better future. I love free enterprise because it is the only economic model in the history of the world where you can make poor people richer and you don't have to make rich people poorer. Where you can lift everyone. And that's why in this campaign, I've treated this as a serious campaign. I ask you to go on my website, marcorubio.com. And in that website, you are going to see I have real ideas about fixing our tax code, about rolling back federal regulations, about saving Social Security and Medicare, about balancing our budget, about fully utilizing the energy resources God has blessed us with, and about repealing and replacing Obamacare once and for all. When you elect me president of the United States, you're going to have a real commander-in-chief. The world has grown incredibly dangerous. There is a lunatic and a sociopath in North Korea who also happens to possess nuclear weapons. The Chinese government is sowing all sorts of instability. They're trying to take over the South China Sea. They hack into our computers. They steal our inventions. Vladimir Putin is sowing instability in Europe and in the Middle East. Iran is about to get $100 billion of sanctions relief, which they're going to use to buy or build a nuclear weapon. And radical Islamic jihadists are spreading throughout the world. ISIS has affiliates in over a dozen countries. In the face of all of these threats, we're gutting our military. We will soon have, because of Barack Obama's budget cuts, we will soon have the smallest army since the end of World War II. We will soon have the smallest Navy in 100 years. And we will soon have the smallest Air Force in our history. We are gutting our military. You know that here as well. the national labs located nearby, a place that is critical to our future, to our, not just our nuclear deterrent, but to the ability to power our nuclear submarines and ships. All of that is being threatened by this ridiculous sequester. Before we spend money on anything, we should be fully funding our national security. When I'm president, we will. When I'm president, we are going to undertake a Reagan-style rebuilding of the United States military. I do not like war. I, as you are, am a lover of peace. I want to live in a world where there is no war. Unfortunately, sometimes in order to achieve peace, you must defeat the enemies of peace. ISIS and radical Islamic jihadists are enemies of peace. And you can't negotiate with them. They don't have ambassadors. They don't have a diplomatic corps. The only way to defeat radical jihadists is to defeat them militarily. And that's why when I'm president of the United States, our intelligence agencies, which by the way, Senator Risch and I work with very closely because of our role in the Select Intelligence Committee, our intelligence agencies are going to find these jihadists. Our military is going to destroy them. And if we capture any of these terrorists alive, they're not going to have the right to remain silent, and they're not coming to a prison in the United States. We are going to send them to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. When I'm president of the United States, we are going to stand with our allies, particularly Israel. I want you to know that Israel is not just another country. Israel is not just another country. Israel is a nation created for a special purpose. Israel was created as a homeland for the Jewish people in the aftermath of the Holocaust. Israel is the only pro-American free enterprise democracy in the entire Middle East. And our current president treats the Prime Minister of Israel with less respect than what he now gives the Ayatollah of Iran. That will change when I'm president, because on my first day in office, I am going to cancel Barack Obama's deal with Iran. When I'm president, we're going to take care of our veterans again. We are not taking care of our veterans now in this country. If you're a veteran, will you raise your hand so we can thank you for your service? God bless you so much. Thank you. We owe you an extraordinary debt of gratitude. Our veterans took care of us. Now we have to take care of them, and we are not. My brother's a veteran. He's a 7th Special Forces Green Beret from 1968 to 1971. And one day, on a training mission, jumped out of an airplane with a parachute, obviously. But he landed badly and he knocked out his front teeth. And so every few years he has to go to the VA to get a dental claim. And it is always a hassle. I think Senator Risch would tell you this as well, but at least in my office, 1 out of 4 calls is a veteran having a hard time with the VA. My brother's one of them. They treat him as if they're doing him a favor, as opposed to the other way around. They did us the favor. And there's no accountability at the VA right now. There are good people working at the VA. There are really good people that work there. I'm not talking about them. I thank them for what they do. But there are people that are not doing a good job. The other day, the headline in USA Today said that calls to the VA suicide hotline were going to voicemail. And sadly, about 48 hours ago, we read that one of the calls that went to voicemail was a young veteran who laid down in front of a railroad track and was killed. He committed suicide. They called him the day after he committed suicide and left a voicemail on his cell phone, which obviously he didn't answer. This is a terrible thing, and no one's being held accountable for it. Now, 2 years ago, believe it or not, this is going to sound strange, but I worked with Bernie Sanders, and we passed a bill called the VA Accountability Act, which gives us the power to fire senior executives at the VA who are not doing a good job. Barack Obama's not firing anybody. When I'm president, if you're not doing a good job, you'll be fired from your job. Don't worry, Bernie and I don't agree on virtually anything else. And by the way, when I'm president, our veterans will be able to take their VA benefits to any hospital or any doctor that they want to go to. We're also constantly reminded that many of our veterans don't stop serving us when they come home. Many of our veterans, you'll find them in a police department now. You'll find them in a fire station or as an EMT. A week ago, I was in Virginia, a week ago today, and the news was about 3 police officers that had just been shot. One of them was killed. She was a Marine reservist. She was on her first day on the job. And so I think it's always appropriate to stop and thank our firefighters, our EMTs, and our police officers for what they do for us and for our country.